Most college football fans can trace their fandom to one game. For me, it happened when I was almost 13 and visiting relatives in Utah. That's when I attended my first ever game at Cougar Stadium, now known as Lavelle Edwards Stadium. It wasn't much of a contest. BYU hammered Wyoming 59-0. But there was something magical that day, whether it was the pageantry or the crowd or BYU's high-flying offense. It just all clicked. That game turned me into a lifelong fan of the Cougars in college football. Cody Stovall had a similar moment with his beloved Oklahoma State Cowboys. Well, sort of. He and his dad were in Norman, Oklahoma to watch the Pokes take on their bitter rivals, the Oklahoma Sooners.
It was 94 or 95, and we went with my uncle, the diehard OU fan, and I had a drink poured on me. And I was like 8, something to that effect. And my dad tried to say something about it. We got kicked out because we were wearing orange, and I have to admit that my uncle stayed there. So we sat outside for a while, and I was telling my dad, I was like, why are they like this? Are all of you fans like this? Is this how they are? And my dad was obviously angry, and he was like, yes, son, this is how they are. And I was like, all right, I'm 8 years old, and now I know that I can never, ever root for the University of Oklahoma, and I've lived life that way.
As Cody's Cowboy fandom grew over the years, he felt OSU never got the respect or media coverage that their rivals received.
Doing out there, just a great coach. First of all, you know the sign.
I would always be riding around the car listening to guys like Robert Allen or Sam Mays or the sports animal in Oklahoma, and they would talk about OU for hours, and then they would have a little bitty Oklahoma State segment, and in that little bitty Oklahoma State segment, they'd be talking about things that just didn't make sense. And I always said, if I ever get the opportunity to give Oklahoma State fan base more realism, I'm going to do it.
Cody's realism is on full display as host of the Locked On Oklahoma State podcast.
And I owe everybody out here an apology because I bought it hook, line, and sinker.
I may not be the most polished or the most eloquent or the best presenter of all time, but I can wholeheartedly say I'm extremely invested in what I do.
How he landed that job is a big story in and of itself.
This is the Big Stories Podcast, where we tell the amazing and inspiring stories from across the Big 12 Conference.
I'm your host, Cleon Wall. While I was searching for Big 12 podcasters to team up with on the Big Stories Pod, I discovered Cody. And after checking out his Instagram page, I knew I needed to find out more about this guy. He's got a great story of, well, we won't spoil it for you, so let's dive in.
I was born in Enid, Oklahoma. My mom says, I can't confirm or deny, but my mom says my first or second word ever was OSU. That's how ingrained I've been as an Oklahoma State fan, right? I grew up with my dad. We listened to everything, every wrestling match, every baseball game, every football game, because back then Oklahoma State wasn't on TV like ever. It was just me and him from 5 to 13. So he was my dude, and he coached me in football. My uncle and my dad coached me in basketball and baseball. So I grew up with the same crew, and that was our life.
Then right before Cody turned 14, his dad died, and he moved in with his mother.
But there was obviously some contention in that relationship, so I ended up moving to Stillwater with my stepmom.
It would surprise no one that Cody wasn't in the best frame of mind heading into his sophomore year of high school. His father had just passed away. He moved to a new town, started a new school, and to top it all off, he was told he had to switch positions once he joined the Stillwater High School football team.
I played quarterback and free safety my entire life, and immediately, day one, they're like, oh, you're the kid from Enid. Yeah, you're going to play wide receiver. And I was like, wait, what? Why would I do that? Well, we already have a quarterback, and we have a pretty solid defense. You're a tall dude that's pretty fast. You're going to play wide receiver. So my sophomore year at Stillwater High School, I was not a very fun person to be around. I was probably on my way to being a lost soul.
Then one day, Cody was playing catch in his backyard and realized that he needed to stop being a jerk.
Because I'm actually pretty decent at this, so I need to, learn the nuances of the position.
So Cody started working on becoming a better wide receiver. During his junior year, a coach pulled him aside and said that if he kept grinding, he might receive a college scholarship, not just for football, but for track and field too.
One of the biggest things that always stayed with me, with my father, is he died 2 days after a Super Bowl in 2001. And it was funny because we were out in the front yard throwing the ball during the Super Bowl. And I made a comment about how I'm going to play at Oklahoma State. And he said, well, the only way you're going to go anywhere is with that arm and them 2 legs of yours. So you better make sure that you do the best that you can to get yourself to college, because we ain't paying for you to go to college. And that is precisely why I didn't party, I didn't drink, I didn't sneak out, I didn't do a bunch of crazy stuff, because I was on a mission. My mission was to get to college, to be good enough to play college ball.
Cody was good enough to play college ball, just not at Oklahoma State University. Instead, he earned an athletic scholarship to compete in both football and track at Friends University, a small Christian college in Wichita, Kansas.
So I got to college and I made it. I stopped fighting for the next goal. I'd had a couple surgeries, so I knew that I wasn't going to be able to compete for at least, a few months. So I did what every logical 18, 19-year-old does when they don't know what to do in life, and I jumped up and joined the Army.
Injuries and surgeries derailed his military career, and Cody eventually left the Army and jumped into the rough and tumble world of oil field work.
That was too much fun. It was all about production. And thankfully, that's how the promotions were handled out as well. So I knew that just by process of elimination, if I work more hours than everybody else and I do more stuff than everybody else and I take the 3 a.m. emergency phone calls, then eventually it's going to work out. By the time I got out of the oil field 7.5 years later, I was making almost $48 an hour, getting to travel the country, and it was fun.
The joy of working in the oil field took a toll on his marriage and his family.
Essentially, I was gone for 7 months out of the year, and then I'd be home for a few, and then gone for 7. That's kind of the way that I operated.
So at his wife's urging, Cody left the oil fields of Oklahoma behind and moved to the Rocky Mountain region, settling in Colorado Springs, Colorado. There, he started working at a car dealership where the grit and determination he honed in the oil fields quickly paid off.
It was one of those scenarios where these people want to get off at 5 o'clock. I'm used to working till 3 a.m., so I don't care about the hours. I don't care about what the standards are, what the days off are. So that fast-tracked me into going from a salesman to a floor manager, then the sales manager, and then the leg kicked in.
Wait a minute. What did he mean when he said his leg kicked in?
I was running about 2.5 miles a day, and I just, kept having this pain. Didn't know what it was, didn't think much about it. And then, one day I wake up and my foot's purple, and I was like, oh, that's probably not good.
I was at my dad's house one day, and I come home. I ask my mom, where's Dad, Cody? I call him Dad because he's been there since I was like 2.
This is Cody's stepson, Logan.
And she goes, he's in the hospital. I go, what happened? She says, he has a blood clot in his left leg. We don't know what's going on right now. It could lead to his heart. So just knowing that, it kind of scared me.
I had a chunk of bone missing out of the backside of my tibia. And for whatever reason, my body was trying to, clot that area essentially. And so every time they would go in and remove clots, within a week or 2, they would just go right back. And sometimes they'd be bigger. I ended up having 12 operations. I was in the hospital for on and off for 6.5 months. And then eventually, it got to the point that I went in to do a bypass. But to do that, they were going to have to take some stuff out of my good leg. And so I told him, I was like, listen, man, I probably should have just cut the foot off, 2 years ago. But we are here now. If you get in there and there is anything that tells you this might not work, I would prefer you just cut it off. And so that's how I woke up without a leg.
The first conversation I had was with my stepbrother, Landon, his son. I was like, dude, Dad doesn't have his leg anymore. He goes, I know, it's kind of weird because he used to be a dad who pushed us to run, and he'd always run with us. Having an athletic dad to be there with athletic children was amazing. And then one day for it to be all gone just kind of hit us. And I feel like it affected my mom the most because a person that she loves lost his leg and he's drugged up 24/7 and he can barely speak and he can barely stay awake, you know?
The biggest hurdle for me to get over was every single accomplishment of meaning in my life was primarily predicated upon my athletic ability, right? So whether it be from high school to college to the military to the oil field, the fact that physically I could do more things than most people, that's what always allowed me to excel, right? What am I going to do now?
Cody's not exactly sure how it happened, but something just clicked. It was like that moment years earlier, tossing a football in his backyard, when he realized he needed to stop being a jerk and start taking the wide receiver position seriously. He knew he needed to move forward with his life. As the quote from The Shawshank Redemption goes, get busy living or get busy dying. Cody chose to live.
My mentality was, it is what it is. I went to the rehab facility, right? I was supposed to be there for like 3 months, and they give you a list of things that you have to accomplish. I was immediately on a mission. So I graduated that 3-month rehab in 2.5 weeks.
The first day that he asked me to go outside and play catch, I was like, how are you going to do that? He's like, I'll just sit in my wheelchair. I still got an arm. He's like, it's not like I lost any of my arms. I can still catch and throw. I was like, that is true. And so he sat in the yard in his wheelchair, and I went to the middle of the road, and I started pitching to him from there. And it was raining, and I didn't care about the rain. I just cared about playing catch with my dad because it was the first time we've played catch in almost a year.
I'm still young enough. I still have enough athleticism in me that I shouldn't let this affect me. One day it's going to, and I'm very well aware of that. But until that day comes, I just said, screw it. I'm going to live life, have fun. I'm going to keep going at 123 miles an hour until I can't anymore.
To continue to live his life to the fullest, Cody knew he needed to get back to work. He wanted to find a career he could do with just one leg since he didn't like using a prosthetic. He could have returned to the car dealership and garnered some sympathy for sales as he rolled around in a wheelchair, but he didn't. Then one day, his entire career changed as he was driving around and listening to the Locked On Big 12 podcast.
Where they live.
He came on and said, hey, the Locked On Network is expanding their Big 12 coverage. So if you are a reporter or a journalist or a broadcaster for a Big 12 school and you would like to be a part of the Locked On Network, please respond to this resume, so on and so forth. I didn't have that, right? I didn't have a resume. I didn't finish my degree. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a broadcaster. So I just started getting on my phone and making videos and just sending them to Locked On.
Cody admitted to the Locked On team that he didn't have what they were looking for. But he also told them,
I know you're not going to find very many people that understand Oklahoma State historically the way that I do. And I have a bit of the tism when it comes to remembering statistics. I didn't think that I was going to get the job. I'm just going to be 100% realistic with you. Eventually, they were like, you know what? This is different. And that was one of the reasons I got the job, because I wasn't a traditional media analyst. I wasn't a broadcast journalism degree individual or a sideline reporter. So I do come at things from a little bit more of a fan, former college football player, emotional standpoint.
just like Cody had to learn to run routes and catch passes as a wideout, he also had to learn the finer details of becoming a good podcaster.
Mike Gundy is the culprit. In fact, some of them even said if Mike Gundy had it. I had an old podcast of mine pop up recently. It was horrendous. Like, I legitimately thought, why did they even hire me?
As a podcaster himself, I'd rate him about a 9, because the thing that's holding him back from that one is him talking crap about his own team sometimes, and that's just as a podcaster, you should love your team no matter what.
Have I created enemies? Yes.
Cody has also developed a lot of contacts, which has helped out in other aspects of life.
I also travel the country covering high school 7-on-7 for Prospect Sports and Epic Sports. So this is just, it's all I do. I go from Oklahoma State coverage to high school 7-on-7 coverage, and they have so many ties in recruiting that allowed me the ability to help some dudes get scholarships at O State and help some guys get visits. I've been extremely blessed and grateful to be able to do this. This is what allows me to keep my sanity. I may not be able to run anymore, but I can get out and I can cover games and I can sit in a chair and I can do this, and it's working out very, very well thus far. And if I can do one thing that makes somebody question whether they're giving enough, then I feel like I've accomplished something.
You are everything that makes this work, so I appreciate what you do. Go do what you do. Alrighty, y'all. Later, taters.
A big thanks to James Call and BYU Radio's post-production team for the music and sound design for this episode. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Big Stories podcast and let us know what you think of it. And check out BYUtv's Big Stories by logging on to BYUSN.com. I'm Cleon Wall, and we will be back soon with more big stories from around the Big 12. Big Stories is a production of BYU Radio.